I'm 101 years old, and I need to tell you something that most elderly people will never admit out loud. Something I've been carrying for years. Something that still wakes me up in the middle of the night, staring at the ceiling, wishing I could change things. I've made mistakes, big mistakes, and some of them can never be undone. You know what it feels like to be 101 years old? It's like wearing a soaking wet, heavy winter coat and having worn it since 1923. Every morning I wake up and I know that today could be the day I finally get to take it off. But before I take it off, I need to tell you what I've learned, because you still have time not to make my mistakes. And believe me when I tell you that I've made mistakes that will haunt me until the day I die. For years, everyone told me, what a beautiful marriage you have, how lucky you are. And I would smile and nod. But inside, I knew the truth. I was the one who ruined my marriage, not Arturo, me. We were married for 43 years. We raised 2 children together. We built an entire life from nothing, from a one-room apartment where we could barely fit to owning our own home, paid off down to the last penny. And for most of those years, I told myself we had a good marriage, solid, stable, the kind that lasts. But here's what nobody tells you about long marriages. You can be married for decades and still be alone. You can share a house with someone and never, ever truly let them in. You can have breakfast with that person every day for years and be 2 strangers sitting at the same table. Arturo died 20 years ago. A heart attack. He was sitting right there in his chair watching the evening news. By the time the ambulance arrived, he was gone. But a week before it happened, he said something that changed my life. For the worse. We were sitting on the porch after dinner. We had eaten in silence, as always, as we had been doing for years. And out of nowhere, without looking at me, without changing his tone, as casually as someone commenting on the weather, he said, I'm still here. I've been here this whole time. I just wish you'd let me back in. You know what I did? I got up like I'd been stung by a wasp. I told him I had to wash the dishes, that I was running late for I don't know what. I left that man sitting there alone. I didn't respond to him. I didn't ask him what he meant. I didn't sit down to talk with him. Nothing. A week later he was dead. And those words, I just wish you'd let me back in. I think about them every day for the past 20 years. Because he was right. He had been trying to get back in for years. And I wouldn't open the door. And the worst part is that I didn't even know why I wouldn't open it anymore. I need you to understand something. In the early years, Arturo wasn't perfect. No man is. No person is. He worked 60 hours a week at the factory. He missed school plays. He forgot anniversaries. There were times when I felt like I was raising the children alone, running the house alone, carrying everything while he just came home to sleep and eat. I would get up at 6 to make breakfast for everyone, take the kids to school, work part-time at the office, pick up the kids, go grocery shopping, cook, clean. And when Arturo came home at 8 at night, tired and grumpy, he would sit in his chair and expect me to serve him dinner. And I had the right to feel hurt. I'm not saying I didn't. I had the right to be angry. I had the right to feel unappreciated. But what I didn't have the right to do was what I did next. This is what I did with that pain. Instead of talking to him, instead of saying, hey, I need you to help me more, instead of fighting for us, making him see me, I did something worse. I shut down little by little. So slowly that Arturo didn't even notice at first. I built walls around my heart, brick by brick, until he could no longer reach me. I started keeping score like I was an accountant of resentment. Every disappointment, every time he failed me, every time he chose work over me, every time he fell asleep without saying goodnight. I saved it all. I filed it in my memory and used it to justify being cold to him. He didn't notice my new dress. Perfect. I'm not going to tell him he looks handsome either. He forgot to call when he was working late. Perfect. I'm not going to ask him about his day either. He fell asleep during that movie I wanted to watch. Perfect. I'm never going to hold his hand again. Small punishments, small revenge, small withdrawals of affection. I told myself I was protecting myself, that I was just being strong, that if he really loved me, he would break down those walls, that he would prove he deserved my warmth, that if he was so smart, he would figure out why I was angry. But that's not how love works. That's not how any of this works. And I was about to learn that the hard way. The years went by, the children grew up, the routine was established, and I kept keeping score. I kept accumulating small resentments like someone collecting stamps. You know what the saddest part is? That Arturo wasn't a bad man. He wasn't a bad man. He was a product of his time, just like I was. Men of his generation didn't know how to be present fathers. They hadn't learned to express emotions. They didn't know how to help around the house. But they did know how to work hard to support their families. They did know how to be faithful. They did know how to stay when things got difficult. And Arturo never, not once in 43 years, was unfaithful to me, never raised his hand, never spent the household money on foolishness. He was a good man who did what he believed he had to do, but I couldn't see that. I could only see what he didn't do. Here's what nobody tells you. While you're busy keeping score, while you're busy punishing someone for who they were 10 years ago, they're changing, they're growing, they're becoming someone different. When Arturo retired, something changed in him, and it really changed. The children were grown and had left home. There wasn't so much financial pressure anymore. The house was paid off, and suddenly he was present in a way he had never been before. He would get up early just to make me coffee, exactly how I liked it, with a teaspoon of sugar and a splash of milk. He would say, "Shall we take a walk after dinner? It's such a beautiful night." He would ask about my day and actually sit down to listen to the answer, not while reading the newspaper or watching TV. He would look me in the eyes and listen. He would try to hold my hand while we watched television. He started buying me flowers on Fridays, for no special reason, just because. One day I came home and he had spent all day cooking my favorite dish. It was a little burnt because he didn't quite know how to make it, but he had tried. And you know what I did? I rejected that man every time. I would take the coffee and not even thank him. I would tell him I was too tired to walk. I would give him one-word answers while I continued doing other things. I would pull my hand away as if I had to fix something urgently. I told myself it was too little, too late, that I had waited decades for this version of him and I didn't want it anymore. Where was this Arturo when I was 30 and needed 2 extra hands for everything? But that was a lie. The truth was uglier than that. The truth is that I had gotten comfortable being disappointed. Resentment had become who I was. It was my identity, being the suffering woman, the one who carries everything, the one who doesn't need anything from anyone because she's learned she can't count on anyone. You know what happens when you've been angry for so long? You don't know how not to be anymore. Anger becomes comfortable, familiar. It's easier to stay angry than to risk forgiving and getting hurt again. And letting Arturo in would mean admitting several things I wasn't ready to admit. First, that I had wasted years being cold for no good reason. Second, that maybe I had been at fault for some things too. And third, the most terrifying of all, that I still loved him. Because if I admitted that I still loved him after spending so much time protecting myself from that love, what had I been doing all those years? So I kept him out for 10 more years. 10 years of him trying to get closer and me pulling away. 10 years I can never get back. I'm going to tell you something I've never told anyone. Not my children, not my sisters, no one. After the funeral, I found a diary on his nightstand. Arturo had never been a writer. In 43 years, I had never seen him write more than a shopping list or a birthday card. But there it was, a leather diary, half filled with his handwriting. He had been writing it for the last 5 years of his life, and I had no idea. I can't read it all to you. Not even now, 20 years later, can I read it completely without falling apart. But I'm going to read you some parts, because you need to understand what I did to that man without realizing it. March 15th, today I made coffee for Andrea like every morning. She drank it while reading the newspaper. She didn't look at me once. I don't know what I did wrong, but I did something. July 22nd, I tried to hold her hand while watching the movie. She pulled away like it burned her. It was a romantic movie. I remembered when we were dating and we went to the movies. She always took my arm. I can't remember the last time she touched me without it being by accident. October 3rd, I bought her flowers. She put them in water without saying anything. I don't know if she liked them or put them there out of politeness. I don't know how to interpret her gestures anymore. It's like we live in different houses. And then there's this, the entry that destroyed me. January 10th. I've booked a trip to Asturias for Andrea and me. I want to show her the town where my grandfather came from. I want us to learn together where we come from. I want us to have something beautiful to share, something that's just ours. I'm nervous. It's been a long time since we did anything together, but I have hope. 2 years before Arturo died, he planned a trip for both of us. He had been researching family history after retiring. He spent hours looking at old documents, talking to distant cousins. He had found the house where his grandfather grew up before immigrating to America. It had become his dream to go there, to walk the same streets his grandfather walked, to see the house, to meet the people in the town, to complete the circle, he said. He talked about it for months, and finally, he booked everything. 2 weeks in Asturias, flights, hotels, guided tours. He had even contacted people in the town who had our last name. He was so excited when he showed me the itinerary. His hands were shaking. He had printed maps. He had marked places he wanted us to see together. He said, "It's going to be like a second honeymoon, but better, because now we really know each other." And I told him no. I told him it was too far, too expensive, that I didn't want to be on a plane for so many hours, that I didn't know anyone there, that what were we going to do in some lost mountain village? All excuses, every one of them. The truth was that I was scared that if I went with him, if I let myself share something so deep, I would have to lower the walls I had built. I would have to feel something. I would have to be truly close to him. I would have to admit that I still loved that man and had been running from it for years. So I let him go alone. My husband flew to the other side of the world to walk the same streets his grandfather had walked, and he did it alone. You know what he wrote in his diary that night? She didn't want to come. I don't know why I thought she would. I've been trying to get us to do things together for years, and she always has some excuse. Maybe she doesn't love me anymore. Maybe she never really loved me and just stayed because that's what you did. I'm going to take this trip alone, and when I come back, I'm going to stop trying. I'm tired of begging for affection. He sent me photos every day. The mountains, the little villages, his grandfather's house. Photos of him with people from the town who had our last name. Distant cousins who had welcomed him like family. A photo of him standing at the door of that house with the original key that the current owner had given him, with tears streaming down his face, and I barely looked at them. I would open them, take a quick glance, and close them. I didn't even respond to most of them. When he came home, he was different. Quieter. Something in his eyes had given up. He had brought gifts. A beautiful shawl made by a woman from the village. A book about the history of Asturias. Homemade honey. And I accepted them politely. "How nice, thank you," and put them away in a closet. I didn't ask him anything about the trip. I didn't sit down to look at the photos with him. I didn't let him tell me the stories he had lived. And he stopped trying to tell them to me. I told myself we would talk about it later, when he was less tired from the trip. that we had time. 18 months later, he was dead. This is the last thing he wrote in his diary, 3 days before he died. I've spent 10 years trying to find my way back to Andrea. I don't know when I lost her. I don't know what I did wrong, but I know she's gone. She's there in our house every day, has breakfast with me, dinner with me, sleeps in the same bed. But she left years ago and I don't know how to reach her anymore. Maybe I should never have retired. Maybe when I was working so much, at least I had the excuse for why she didn't pay attention to me. Now that I have all the time in the world for her, she's realized she doesn't want me around. I've tried everything, being more affectionate, helping more around the house, planning nice things to do together. Nothing works. I'm tired, Lord. I'm so tired of knocking on a door that won't open. I don't have the strength to keep trying anymore. If you call me tomorrow, I go in peace, knowing that at least I tried. He thought it was his fault. My husband spent the last 10 years of his life thinking he had done something wrong, trying to fix a problem that didn't exist, trying to win back a love I had never lost. I had just stopped showing it. Here's what I need you to understand. There are 2 ways to destroy a marriage. The first way is loud. Affairs, abuse, slamming doors, screaming, things everyone can see, things you can point to and say that's why it ended. The second way is silent, withdrawing little by little, being gradually cold, taking away your affection drop by drop until the person you love is standing there in the cold, knocking on a door you won't open. The second way is worse because nobody sees it, because you can deny it, because you can do it while technically still being faithful, technically still being there, technically still fulfilling your wifely duties. I was there every day for 43 years. The same house, the same table, the same bed. I cooked his favorite meals. I washed his clothes. I slept next to him. But I had left emotionally, and I made Arturo feel like he was married to a ghost. If you're watching this now and you recognize yourself, if you're one of those keeping score, if you're one of those with walls up, if you're one of those who stopped being affectionate because you got hurt once and swore it wouldn't happen again, if you're one of those punishing your current partner for what your previous partner did to you, if you're one of those waiting for him or her to earn it before being affectionate again, you need to listen to me. Your partner can't climb walls you won't lower. They can't read a mind you've closed off. They can't fill a cup you keep pulling away. They can't show love to someone who has decided not to see it. And one day, whether through death or divorce, or because they simply give up, they're going to leave. And you're going to be sitting there alone, with no company but the walls you built to protect yourself. I know, because that's exactly where I am now. There's a photo on Arturo's nightstand. I haven't moved it in 20 years. It's from our wedding, June 1955. He's smiling like he won the lottery, looking at me like I'm the only woman in the world. So young, so full of hope, so in love with a woman who was going to spend the next 40 years gradually pushing him away. I look at that photo every night before bed and think about everything I should have done differently. I should have forgiven his mistakes from the early years. God knows I wasn't perfect either. I should have talked to him instead of shutting down. Should have told him what I needed instead of punishing him for not guessing. I should have let him get close during those last years when he was trying so hard. I should have risked feeling something, risked getting hurt for the chance to be close. I should have gone to Asturias. I should have stood next to my husband in his grandfather's house and held his hand while he cried with emotion. I should have been there when he needed me most. I should have let that trip bring us back together instead of being too proud, too scared, too stubborn to go. This is what I want you to do today, right now. If you love someone, tell them, not when they've earned it, not when you feel like it. Now, if you've built walls, start tearing them down, one brick at a time. I know it's scary. Do it anyway. If you're keeping score of all the times they've failed you, burn that list. Light a match and let it go. All it's doing is keeping you alone. If your partner is trying, if they're making an effort, if they're showing up differently than they used to, let them. Don't punish them for who they were 10 years ago. Don't make them earn what should be given freely. Because here's what nobody tells you about time. You think you have more of it than you really do. You think there will always be a tomorrow, another chance, another moment to make it right. There isn't. Arturo and I had 43 years, and I wasted at least 15 of them behind walls, protecting myself from a man whose only desire was to love me. Now I have all the time in the world, and nothing to do with it but regret. I'm not telling you this so you'll feel sorry for me. I don't deserve it. Arturo deserves it. I'm telling you because you still have time. Your person is still there. You can still lower those walls. You can still reach back when they reach for you. 20 years ago, I would have given anything for one more day with Arturo. Not to apologize to him. Apologies are just words. To show him. To be affectionate when I had been hard. To take his hand when I had pulled it away. To say yes, yes to Asturias, yes to the walk, yes to being close instead of being right. I didn't get that day. You might still get yours. Don't waste it like I wasted mine. Go right now and hug the one you love, and don't let go.